Hello and welcome to Checkpoint Reach Podcast. I'm your host, Kelvin, and today I'm joined by Sud, and I'm also joined by our special guest, Lord Thoreck, also known as Matt. How you doing, mate?
Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, doing well, thanks. Glad to have you on. And a milestone for the podcast, I believe you're our first Canadian guest.
Hey. That's awesome. Hopefully you'll have much more in the future.
Yeah,
Hope so.
Hey, that's the plan. If there's any Canadians out there listening who wants to get on the pod, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's something we look forward to. And people should know as well that Matt is a streamer, also known as Lord Thoreck. So definitely check out his stuff. We'll put every link in the description below. But we're going to jump into some gaming news this week and have a chat. So let's get started with our first topic of the day, and that is Bethesda engine is getting its longest ever upgrade before Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6. Bethesda's Todd Howard has said that the company's current engine, which will be used for Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, is getting what could be its largest upgrade yet, and is being worked on by the largest number of employees the company has ever assigned to the engine work. He also, a little quote, he said, "We too will acknowledge it needs more work than it has in previous times," which seems a bit of an understatement. But are we glad to hear this? Surely we are.
Yeah, I think we discussed this, didn't we, briefly a couple of weeks ago, was it? 2-3 weeks ago? We had a similar type story where we were getting rumblings that they're going to be improving their engine a lot. They say largest ever update, which says to me it's still going to be the same engine.
But I don't think that's a bad thing, though. I mean, we all love the Bethesda engine. It's just I'm not a big fan of them always putting out like 75% worth of work and then having the modders take care of the rest of it for them.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah. You do make a good point there. I don't know. It's just one. I would like to see them. I would like to see them just build a new engine. Personally, I mean, the engine they use. Let's be honest. I think even being positive, it's probably being over positive saying that it's been hit or miss. I think it's been more miss than hit in recent years.
I agree with you.
You look at you go back to Fallout 4. I mean, you could go earlier than that, but I'm just going off games maybe since then. You look at Fallout 4.
I liked Fallout
76. No, I did as well. I liked it. I liked the game.
4.
Yeah. I think we all liked it. It's just that I don't think any of us could sit here and say it ran, smoothly.
No,
they're definitely not.
No.
Especially on console. I mean, it didn't run very well at all on console.
No.
PC, maybe, obviously probably ran a bit better.
I had it on my Xbox One, like the original Xbox One.
Same.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy the loading screens because I read them probably like 80 times before it loaded. So
yeah, I was there with you, man. I've still got the OG Xbox One, so playing that game, it was slow, to say the least. So
it's slow. It looked good. I mean, did you guys have the entire set of armors like Iron Man in your house? Because that's what I did.
No,
I had a whole house and I had like 8 sets of armors in there, and I was like, yeah. And then the bandits broke in.
But the building was pretty cool, wasn't it? I didn't mind the builds. Some people really didn't like that building aspect. I didn't mind the fact that it was in there too much, to be honest.
It was something else, right?
Something extra to do in the game, so I didn't mind that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of them things where they can. And so the proof's in the pudding at the end of the day. Until they actually deliver a game that doesn't have these massive bugs at launch, actually looks good. Because, Fallout, I don't know. I was a little bit disappointed with Fallout 4 graphically. I mean, I don't think it was the worst looking game in the world, but I also think you think of games like The Witcher and then compare it to Fallout and you're like, wow, it was night and day in terms of how it looks. So, and maybe that's not a fair comparison because obviously...
They come out in the same year?
They did. Wow. Yeah. Witcher came out, I think, 6 months before Fallout. So, and maybe it's a bit unfair because, I mean, Witcher 3 is one of the best games of the generation. But at the end of the day, Fallout should be one of the best games of the generation, with the standard of that studio. So, although, again, like you look at Fallout 76, I mean, they do look like a studio in decline, which is worrying.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, this is all following the purchase of Bethesda by Microsoft. So maybe Microsoft's like, hey, we saw what you guys could do back in the day. Let's get you back there. Hopefully that's what they're talking about. Cause now, Microsoft is always this big company. So everybody's like, well, a big company buying a little smaller company, not I mean, not to say Bethesda's a small company, but they're like, well, maybe they can sort them out, or maybe it's just going to go down the drain. Who knows?
Well, you'd think, like you just touched on or alluded to as well, that Microsoft's resources and piling into Bethesda with giving them more resources, that surely they'll be able to upgrade the engine to a very good standard, at least, if they're not all doing a major overhaul.
And it's the perfect time to do that too. I mean, you have a new generation coming out. Make that engine for the new generation. But the problem with that is if we make a new engine for the new generation and then they launch it and it's let's just say Bethesda standard, then that's going to be a massive hole, right? Like, oh, we've had all these great launch titles, but Starfield was not great because it froze when you jumped into water, like Skyrim did on launch. Did you guys have that? I had that in the North American edition. Put Skyrim in launch day, jumped into a river. I was like, I want to see what happens if can I swim? And I jumped into the river and it hard locked.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Skyrim, I mean, I know that, a couple of people we know, Luke, when they played Skyrim on the original, it was on 360 at the time, and this is a long time ago now, but they had a number of issues. I mean, I remember the one where there was what were they calling it? Like the lag glitch or whatever. What were they calling it? Where it kind of, as the more time went on, the more you saved the game, the more the game lagged, and it got to a point where it ran at it went to maybe 2 or 3 frames per second, and it just never recovered.
It was something along the lines of it wasn't saving over the old file. It was it looked like it was saving it over the old file, but it wasn't. So it was just creating new files. So all of a sudden you've got 200 files, and now it can't keep up with that, right?
Yeah. So I mean that's obviously a big problem. I mean you can't.
And a new engine would take care of that. Right?
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, look. I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to say it's not good news because it is good news. I mean, we want to hear this. We don't want to be hearing that they're not using anything new, or they're using the same engine, because that would be terrible, really. But the big test is going to be whenever Starfield comes out next year or 2022. I mean, we're not going to have to wait that long to find out the results of this.
God, I'm so excited for that game.
Yeah,
2045, you mean?
The way Bethesda goes, yeah. I mean, that's another thing, isn't it? With you'd hope now that they're actually with Microsoft that they can sort of sort out those problems of timing, because I don't know, it feels weird. It feels like they're behind. It does feel like they're behind, doesn't it? In terms of, it feels like some of these projects should have already happened by now.
So that's another thing, though, is we're seeing more, and I mean, you guys have talked about it extensively, is Cyberpunk 2077.
Yep.
Is it better to push that back just a little bit and fix it, or is it better just to get it out and like I said in Bethesda's case, let the modders take care of it, right? Because they're going to.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. Yeah.
That is a good point. And to be honest, I would always, I say always, but err on the side of giving them a little bit more time to bring out a better polished game. Because there is nothing worse than getting a title on day one and just having bugs or errors, and you sat there like, come on. I know we desperately want Cyberpunk, but if this delay again does enforce the fact that there won't be bugs on day one and stuff like that, then yeah, I'm going to be happy with that sort of product.
Yeah, and I think to be fair, you make a good point about, it's I guess it would be a little bit hypocritical of us to say Starfield should be rushed out immediately when we've all been quite patient with CD Projekt Red, haven't we? I don't think me and you, Luke, really we've not really been too critical of them. I don't think too much. We've kind of said
not really.
I think
we've
maybe
also
been,
set that bar.
True.
Yeah. No, exactly with The Witcher. Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of, I think it gives them more leeway, whereas I don't think people have got that same leeway with Bethesda at the moment, because, as we know, their performance in the last 5 or 6 years hasn't been good. And, I look at the studios that Microsoft have acquired now, and you could even argue really that Obsidian is actually their best RPG studio now, and not Bethesda Softworks, which is an interesting one. Now, obviously, the difference for me is that Bethesda Softworks still, obviously, Bethesda have the Elder Scrolls and Fallout license, which is better than anything that Obsidian, I think, could originally create. However, we've seen with Obsidian with Avowed, I mean, that, we haven't seen much of it, but that's something, they're saying that's maybe the Skyrim for Obsidian, aren't they? Mm-hmm. It's like Obsidian's version of Skyrim. So it'd be interesting to see if they can kind of one-up Bethesda, I guess, with this new RPG. So it's just interesting, really. And I just hope that, with Bethesda going to Microsoft now, that they can sort them out a bit, because I do think they need, I think they maybe need a little bit of a restructure Bethesda, to be honest with you. And hopefully, them going to Microsoft, they can start that process really and get things going. Because I know what you're saying about, we're willing to wait for projects and things like that, but I do think as well they have been a bit slow, in my opinion, this generation with getting things going. So
I think it's got a lot to do with backlash too, right? Like
Yeah.
every time they put something out, everybody slags on it. Everybody's like, "Oh, you could have waited a month." And the only people that I find that don't get that is Nintendo.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they put out polished games, right? They're simple games. Don't get me wrong. Like I just finished Paper Mario and the Origami King.
Mm.
It was a great game. Like I love speedrunning. Like I'm a huge fan of GDQ and all that, right? And so every once in a while I'll play a game and see if I can get out of bounds. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo games, I find it so hard to get out of bounds.
You know what? Actually, it's a good point you made there. I'm glad you brought up Nintendo because I've got to be honest. I don't play on my Switch as much as my PlayStation or even my Xbox. But when I do go on my Switch on a game, I very rarely. I don't know if I've ever experienced a glitch on a Nintendo, a first party game anyway. I played the Mario All Stars collection. Didn't have any problems with that. I've played, Zelda a little bit. No glitches at all there from what I can remember. Even the Pokemon games, which you wouldn't expect glitches on them sort of games anyway. But no, I've literally no glitches or anything I remember. And you think of the difference between some of the games you play on PlayStation and Xbox, and it's night and day, really. It seems like the quality they have in terms of their testing at Nintendo is kind of unmatched, really. I think that's fair to say.
They're different style of games, right? Like you have a game like Fallout 4 running on a Switch, right? It's not exactly going to be, like running on a 4K Xbox Series X, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's and having, if you were to put like a Nintendo game on an Xbox Series X or something along those lines, it would run insanely well, right?
Yeah.
But I think it goes back to Nintendo has this quality that they're known for, and I think the directors and stuff like that know that. So when they send it out, they're like, well, there's not going to be a modding community. There's not going to be, there's got to be QA done before it goes out, because there's not going to be any fixes. Like, yes, they can send little updates here and there, and we've gotten them, but they're like 30 megabyte updates instead of 60 gig updates, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You do make a good point, obviously, on the Switch. You're not going to be getting those insane updates like you do on PS4 and Xbox. So, yeah, maybe you're right, they have to get it right more first time. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think that there's become a pattern now in the gaming industry, hasn't there, where it's kind of okay to release a broken game now, especially on consoles and even on PC. It's like, I don't really like that mentality, personally.
I hate it.
I think that it's kind of a lazy mentality. Yeah. I think it's a lazy mentality. To me, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, well, we'll just push whatever Fallout 76 out, and it can have tons of glitches and bugs and whatever, and it's fine. Because
even if the devs aren't thinking that way, but it's like subconsciously they're thinking, oh, well, damn, yeah, we could have done better actually there, but it's okay. Maybe the modding community will take care of that for us. It's like, I don't want patches either. Just give me a game. Like, that was one of the worst thing that came with, obviously, the generations of having updates given to you via Wi-Fi and different data transmissions, and now we end up with games just getting patched all the time and given different. Like, look at the size of COD as well.
I just reinstalled it for zombies. I'm not gonna lie, I had a bit of a break and was like, I can't play this game anymore because the hackers, and it was just really bad. So but my buddy was like, oh, the zombies are out. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Reinstalled 250 gigs.
It's ridiculous.
What?
I mean,
why?
Did you two see that they reckon that Cyberpunk's going to have a ridiculously big patch when it comes out on consoles?
I didn't see that.
Because of, obviously, all this extra, not extra work, but this 3-week delay and stuff, that they reckon it's still not, the performance on consoles is still not going to be probably like it would be if they delayed it another 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously it's getting to the stage where it's like, we need to just get this game out now. So they reckon there could be maybe a 30, 40, 50 gig update.
Great.
Day one. Which is
not good for us. Oh wait, I don't know what I'm going to play it on yet, but the Xbox Series S obviously came out today. That it's only got 364 gigabyte of space for games.
Yeah. I mean,
which is really small.
I did expect it because obviously whenever they say 500 gigabytes, you know it's not going to be 500 gigabytes because obviously the system takes up a lot of memory, and it's the same with the X, isn't it? So
they're also selling add-ons like Xbox and stuff are licensing hard drives and stuff now, right? So
an SSD expansion.
The terabyte hard drive for $300 or whatever it is.
No, it's
SSD,
ridiculous.
right?
Yeah,
so
ridiculous price.
Yeah, but then instead of putting it in the Xbox, they're like, oh yeah, we'll give you 350 gigs or 500 gig system. But
if I bought the S and bought that expansion, I might as well have just bought the X.
Yeah, very much.
Exactly.
It ends up being the same price, so pointless.
But yeah, I mean, it's the same with the PS5, isn't it? That was advertised at $825, and I think it was revealed that actually you get to use about $670, something like that. So,
remember back in the day though, when it's like, 670, why would you ever need 670 gigs?
Yeah,
I know.
And now it's like, that's nothing.
Well, did you also see that Call of Duty Cold War is 133 gigabytes on PS5?
Oh man,
I've seen that.
So, at that rate, you're going to fit about 5 or 6 games on your PS5, and that's it. So
it's going to be rough.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. I mean, not all games will be 133 gig, but you'd think a vast majority of the big games are going to be around 100. So it's
the way it's
going.
And
that's the problem too, is that if we start doing that and we start making new engines for games, are they going to be bigger?
Yeah,
right?
probably.
I'd assume so.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and touching on the obviously next gen consoles, that does bring us nicely into topic 2 that we were going to talk about, which is an article before the lockdown because it says upcoming English lockdown affecting Xbox Series X and S pre-orders, but it is Thursday now, so when is it? So does it after 6 they go into lockdown in England, I think? Can't really remember.
Yes, today, isn't it? So
yeah, it doesn't affect us.
It's about, local. It's about an hour's time or so local time. So
yeah, doesn't affect us because we're in good old Wales. But unfortunately,
wait, those are two separate things. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
Oh right, wait. Honestly, I lived in America for a little bit, and I had to explain that a lot. Wales is a small country.
It's technically part of the United Kingdom. It's just that we can. It's like, I don't know. I don't know how you'd even describe it. It's just like having a state in America or something, isn't it? With different.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So
or province in Canada.
Yeah, exactly. So. There you go. Well, apparently though, people we're going to have to get in before yesterday now, it would have been, to get their pre-orders sorted and paid for because, all the shops are closing. All non-essential shops in the UK will be closed. It says UK, but in England will be closing until December 2nd. So obviously, if you have got a pre-order that was going to be in store, collected in store, that's not going to be the case now. So it's going to be an absolute mess. Have people even seen it? I doubt it.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I assume, everyone with a pre-order that was pre-ordered from a physical store, I assume would have received an email, but as we know, not everyone checks their emails as regularly as maybe they should, so.
Or it went to junk mail.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, it can be lost in junk mail.
Well, I use a throwaway email for most of my orders, and I only checked today because you said, I had an email saying that it's come in. I was like, I better check then. So I've got to be honest. I mean, this is always the problem I have now. I mean, I would never pre-order a console now from a physical shop anyway. I would always do it online because I just think you're going to be more secure doing it online. Because these are the sort of things that can happen, I think, from pre-ordering physically. If you get something like this where the shop's closed, I mean, it's going to be a struggle. So, and with the way things are going, I just, they've said, haven't they, in the UK, that the deliveries aren't really going to be affected too much. Yeah, delivery should be okay.
It's just that obviously it's going to be affected if you pre-ordered from a store because they have said though, haven't they? They're going to open up at certain times. I think.
From like 8 to 12.
8 to 2 or 8 to 12.
8 to
so
2,
I'm actually confused. I don't know. I guess I don't know what you think about this, Luke. But I'm confused how that would work with the laws because I guess they are allowed to do it, but
curbside pickup.
Yeah.
Of course. It must be. I mean, I assume it's just literally you go to the store and they'll just give it to you. It'll be like a list and you just go, what's your name? Okay, we'll get out of the back and then just give it you because...
You better be checking IDs too.
yeah, definitely.
Just for our random... Yeah.
I mean, so...
Gary Gulag. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, totally easy. Hey, how did you know my COD name?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen all the controversy the last couple of days in the United States with stuff like that. So,
yeah, true.
Yeah, I think So yeah, like you said, I do wonder how much ID you have to bring. You probably have to bring about 10 different forms of ID or something. Don't you?
And a blood test.
But, yeah.
I'm actually surprised though that they've had the leeway from the government to do it.
I'm surprised as well. Yeah, I mean, I guess are they the only? There must be other stores as well. It can't just be like. Obviously, we're talking about game in the UK because that's the most popular game store. But I assume other places like Argos and places like Korea. I assume they're the same. That you have
Argos stays open,
way
doesn't it? I think it stays.
Oh
open.
yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah.
I would think it's a huge part of revenue for all, like these guys probably projected in their business plans, right? Saying like, hey, there's a new console coming out. We're going to make XYZ off it. And then the government to be like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Right. is going to wreck places. So they had to be like, okay, well, this is our main source of income for this year. You're going to have to help us out here. And the government's like, okay, yeah, we can't like have you guys like fail it because of it.
Compromise.
Yeah, I imagine you're right there, actually. I imagine there must have been some sort of special dispensation for them. Because obviously, usually, with anything else, you wouldn't really be allowed to do that even. So, yeah, I think it's fair enough anyway. I mean, it's not like you're going to be having 20 people storming the shop or anything like that. I mean, I think it's going to be a line and you just have to probably say your name, show your ID. They'll go in the back, give you your console, and then you're off. You can go home. So
bring your receipt or something like that if you're online order, whatever.
Yeah, so I don't really see a problem with it personally. No. To be honest.
I mean, it's going to be all outside anyway, right? So
yeah, exactly.
It will be. I'm just glad. I'm really glad we ordered ours online. Just
same.
So is it delivering to your house then? Is that what? Yeah.
Nice. Yes. Yeah. Did you?
I still haven't decided.
Oh, you know.
I was going to ask if you decided maybe.
I haven't decided yet.
Are you a big PC player though, aren't you?
Whoa. I use PC for streaming.
Okay.
I grew up on console. This is actually my first like gaming PC.
Yeah.
I've had every console under the sun. I started with Super Nintendo.
Nice.
64, Wii U, PS2, PS3, Xbox 360, so on and so forth, right? Like I'm a console gamer at heart, deep down in here.
Where would you say you lean? Which side would you say you lean more? Xbox.
Xbox,
okay.
Yeah. So I have a PS4 and an Xbox One. I like the way Xbox deals with their customer base a little bit more, and the fact that I can go onto my PC and I have like a lot of my games already on PC because of the crossplay and stuff like that. Right?
Yeah.
Game Pass is insane.
Yeah, it's such a good product.
I mean, it's fair to say, isn't it, Lou? That maybe not as much for you, but for me, I mean, I used to be Xbox all the way, Xbox 360 days. I mean, I love the 360. I still think the Xbox 360 is my favorite ever console. So many memories from that console, so good. But then Xbox One. I mean, I wouldn't say an Xbox fanboy, but I was certainly in the Xbox camp. And then obviously Xbox One came along. I reluctantly kind of got it. I didn't really want to because it was like I could see the writing on the wall with Don Matrick. Well, I mean, do you remember all the things that Mr. Matrick, Mr. Don Matrick said, and all them horrible things about, if you want an offline console, just stick with your 360. All them ridiculous quotes.
Oh yeah, they were terrible.
We all remember, obviously, the PS4 famous, like, this is how you share a game, and
Well, that was their counter to it, right? Like, well, everybody hated that, so why don't we do this?
Yeah,
exactly.
Open goal for him.
But I think halfway, halfway
they're
through
waiting. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all right. No worries. I think halfway through this generation, I kind of shifted really more towards PlayStation. I got a PS4 and I was like, yeah, these games are great on this console. Like, and nowadays I kind of prefer their ecosystem, to be honest with you. I don't know. That's just why I've chosen PS5. I mean, I'm getting a Series S, to be honest, and this is the point I was going to come on to. It goes to show how much great value Game Pass is, because I'm literally only getting the Series S for Game Pass.
Yeah.
That's the sole reason I'm getting it. If the Game Pass wasn't on the machine, it was a normal I probably wouldn't even look at Xbox this generation. But Game Pass is such good value that I can't really not at least get an S,
The PS5 or PS4, like that's why I eventually got it. It was the exclusives.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I mean, Spider-Man was a phenomenal.
Yeah,
God of War was excellent, right?
Horizon Zero Dawn, brilliant game.
Shadows of War was great too.
Well, yeah.
Oh, come on, but what I'm saying is, though, is like I had to get these games, like this console, to get these games. Like I would have never experienced them, and it was phenomenal when I got to. But for me, I essentially got a console for 3 or 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
Was it worth it?
So
in the end, yeah, probably.
Which of the PS4 exclusives have you not played yet? Is there any you haven't played that you haven't got around to yet?
No, I think I've gotten most of them now.
Gone around to the ones
Horizon. I haven't done Horizon.
You need to play that.
Highly recommended.
Yeah, that's a fantastic game.
Yeah.
I think it's you're going to disagree, Luke. I think it's the best first party. Their best.
Yeah, but I only
game.
disagree because I preferred Spider-Man.
Yeah. You put it.
It's very
Spider-Man,
close. Very close.
Yeah.
I'm with Luke on this one.
Spider-Man was great. I mean, I'm
Spider-Man was amazing.
I'm really excited for Miles Morales. Obviously.
That'd be awesome.
It's probably going to be the first game I play on my PS5. Maybe Assassin's Creed, but one of them too.
Yeah.
So
it's
just exciting times.
What about Matt? Do you play like most of your console games online with friends?
See, I did. Yeah, right. I played a lot of like my on my Xbox. It was a lot of online with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
But lately, because I've been playing like COD Warzone with my buddies and stuff like that, it's easier to play on PC. And then doing streaming and stuff like that, I can stream off of my PC easier than getting the Xbox, setting it up on a TV, grabbing my capture card, you know what I mean, and doing all that. Because right now, streaming from an Xbox, just straight from the Xbox, isn't great.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's interesting. But like apparently the new Series X and all that, they're designed for streaming. So you literally can just like hit a button and away you go. Where, us with OBS and Streamlabs and all that kind of stuff it's a bit easier just to do it from the PC. Don't get me wrong. I still got Resident Evil 3 on my Xbox when it came out. Like I was like, oh, the remake. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go and do, I'm going to get that on my Xbox because I have my Resident Evil 2 on Xbox and so on and so forth. Right. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do that on my Xbox. My PS4 right now, unfortunately, is kind of just sitting there because
same with me, mate. Same with me.
Yeah.
See, I'm going to be using the S as my multiplayer console and online console, and playing with friends because most of them are getting the Xbox now, which is taking a turn. And I'm going to be buying the PS5 solely really for single player games, and just like if I want to experience that high end graphical experience, I guess, then I'll be using that. But yeah, going with the S for the online.
That I found really funny is that everybody's like, oh, graphics. If you don't have a 4K TV, you're not going to notice the difference.
Yeah, no, that's
right.
Yeah, that's something I touched on a few weeks ago, or even a couple of months now. Like, you need the other equipment to get the best out of it. It's not just, oh yeah, I got a 4K console done. Doesn't work like that.
It's gonna make my tube TV work as 4K now. It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
What were you going to say, sir? I think you had a question.
I did have a question for Matt. I was wondering what game. Well, I get games, I guess. Which games are you kind of looking forward to in the next year or two, would you say, from the ones that have been announced?
I mean, Cyberpunk 2077, for sure. Yeah, that looks just... I mean, Keanu Reeves, man, right? You can't go wrong with that guy.
No.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah, same.
I mean, being Angry Vikings, it's like... that's just...
I do like that setting. I do
so
like that.
I think those are some of the big ones. And then anything that Nintendo's going to put out in the next little while, I'll probably jump on.
I mean, that's a lottery, really, with Nintendo, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, and the weird thing is they don't come out until the Nintendo Direct. So it's like, you hear nothing. And this is coming out in the next week. And you're like, oh, okay. Just chill out,
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking forward to. I've never been an Assassin's Creed person, so I don't do stealth games. Dishonored, I wanted to like that so bad. It's such a cool premise, such a cool game. Dishonored. But I'm the guy that sneaks in as Ezio in the very beginning and then goes John Rambo and just starts mowing down everything.
I've got to say though, with Dishonored, I really like Dishonored. I like both of them, but I actually kind of stopped playing them as stealth games straight away because I'm not very good at stealth games. So I was like, I'll just play it as an action game, and I still enjoyed it for that.
Yeah,
because I love the world. The world is great in Dishonored.
It's such an interesting system.
It's
such
so cool.
Great.
The atmosphere of the game is great. It's got a great atmosphere, but. Yeah, I don't know. Assassin's Creed, I mean, I don't know. They're not really stealth games anymore, though, are they? I mean, this is the difference now. I mean, there is stealth elements, but they're more like our open world RPGs now. I mean, you look at Origins and especially Odyssey. I mean, that really was more like The Witcher not in terms of the quality. I mean, The Witcher is a better game, but I just mean in terms of the scope of the game. So they're more like open world RPGs now, Assassin's Creed games. So if you like those sort of games, I think you're going to like this one.
Yeah. I also am a big fan of the indie scene too, so I always try to keep track of what's going on with the indie scene. Like I don't know if you guys ever played Celeste.
No,
I tried it. Yeah, I
Phenomenal.
found it ridiculously hard.
Once you get the hang of it,
so
it's worth
hard.
it. It is worth it.
And I know there's like that easy mode, but I was like, I don't want to use an easy mode.
It's just a straight line across the screen.
I just kind of gave up. Really.
Yeah,
I just kind of gave up instead of playing it because I was like, there's no point me finishing the game just on easy mode. That's just kind of silly.
Oh, that's another one that's coming out that I'm like, ooh, is Demon Souls Remake.
Yeah, that looks amazing. I've got to say that does look amazing.
I actually got into Dark Souls and like From Software's games at Dark Souls 3, and I was like, okay. And my buddies were all like, yeah, this is, if you're going to start in Dark Souls, this is where you should start, is Dark Souls 3. It's like honestly one of the better ones. And, so I started playing it and I was like, this game sucks. It's so hard and blah, blah, blah. And then I beat my first boss and I was like, okay, just give me another one.
So
if I can do that one.
They're so rewarding, the game. I mean, unless you play it, it's hard to describe. It's such a rewarding game. I mean, I still think the first one is the best. I still think the first one's the best one. Mm-hmm. I love the first. It's so good. That remaster that came out last year, the year before, was it? I can't remember if it was last year, the year before. Yeah, so good. I love playing that again. It was so good. And I think Demon's Souls is going to be great. I think it'll probably review really well. I think it'll be a critical hit. I think that studio, Blue Point, they're such an up and coming studio. I'm surprised Sony haven't bought them. To be honest with you, by now, I really am shocked they haven't bought them.
Yeah,
because
give them a minute.
I think they will. Yeah, eventually, because it's just you don't want to let a studio like that go. They're very talented. They obviously they predominantly do remakes, but I wouldn't mind seeing them do a game for themselves.
Create a new IP.
Yeah, create something new. I think they've proven they're a great studio now.
That's my issue and I mean, we're coming up to that at some point, but is new IPs, right? Like seeing new IPs come out, like Sekiro, right? Yep. I unfortunately haven't played Sekiro. The combat system, it looks great. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think it's so cool, but the combat system deviated from the Dark Souls formula a little too much for me, and I just couldn't figure it out. So
I did pick up Sekiro, and I had to give up. It's too hard. I got to a certain boss, and I must have tried 50 times. I was like, I'm not getting anywhere with this boss. I just can't. It was one of them where I had to admit defeat and go, yeah, this game's just not. It's too hard for me. Just too difficult. Like, because I always feel with Dark Souls, like, they're very hard games, but I always feel like I can always, okay, I know I can beat this eventually.
Yeah.
If I just
keep them down to a quarter health. Next time I'm going to get them. But
I always feel like on Dark Souls, and I'm hoping it's the same on Demon Souls, there'll always be a way to, even with Bloodborne was the same as well. But I don't know. I just feel like with Sekiro, it was like, I just felt like I could try this 500 times and I might never do it.
Actually, that's one of the ones I did play for the PS4 was Bloodborne. And I was pretty much the same way with you said, because I was playing it and I guess I just wasn't right in the right headspace for it at the time. And I was like, wow, this is a great game. It feels great. It feels like a From Software game. But man, I'm used to dodging and stuff where you don't really dodge as much in Bloodborne. So I just kept getting stomped in the face.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to back away from this one. And I just never ended up going back because I have this huge list of games that I'm just trying to work through, right? So it took me
impossible.
2 months or something like that to beat Paper Mario and the Origami King, just because of all the things that everything else was going on, right? So, which was great, by the way. If you guys get to play it,
I must admit those games aren't really my scene. I hate picking up a game and it just thinking, God, this is too hard. I'm gonna have to really slog at this just to get through it. And usually I pick up a game at the end of the day and I just want to chill and have a laugh or enjoy it. And for me, those experiences are not enjoyable. I guess I'm in the minority with that. They seem to be very popular games. So
I think it's probably a 50-50 split. I think some people love those games, some people don't like them all. So it's just whichever camp you fall in. I don't think there's many people that just like the Dark Souls games. You either kind of love them or hate them.
Marmite.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I've always wanted to try that.
I love it. And I bet you hate it, don't you, Luke?
What, Marmite?
Yeah,
I do.
I love it. And that's what I'm saying. I love it, and Luke hates it. That just goes to show Marmite is literally that's what Marmite is.
Yeah, I mean, it's vile. You're crazy. Right. You're vile.
I love it. It's absolutely delicious. You should definitely try it, Mike, if you get the chance. It's delicious.
That's awesome.
Don't recommend. But anyway, we've spoken about new IPs, and you also mentioned a remake. But let's talk about a remaster, one that me and Sud are highly looking forward to if it is real. That's one thing.
Oh, it should be real.
It should be. But that is the Mass Effect Trilogy remaster may finally be announced this weekend, fans hope, on N7 Day. Growing hope that the long rumoured Mass Effect Trilogy remaster, also known as Mass Effect Legendary Edition, may finally be announced this weekend on N7 Day. At this point, we all know that the remaster is happening. This is what the article says anyway. It's been outed by multiple trusted sources on multiple occasions, but the wait for its official reveal has been tedious to say the least. But apparently it has, what's that say? It has been given an age rating in Korea though recently.
Well, there you go.
So age
ratings in Korea are never wrong. So,
well, that's got a hint. No, it's got to be coming. Thank God.
Well, actually, I think Mass Effect. It's just thinking about it again. It's just, we just all want it. I just wish it was at launch of the console. That'd be such a cool game to play at launch. I wouldn't even care if it was a remaster. I'd just play them again.
Same.
Maybe I would actually finally play it.
Well, I've got to say, Matt, I've got to call you out on this.
Yeah, here we go.
I saw your comment on my video on Mass Effect. I've got to be honest, I was disgusted. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe, that you hadn't played it. All these games you've played, and you've not played one of the greatest trilogies in games.
You know what? So here's what happened. Okay, here's what happened. My buddy got it for me, and he's like, "You absolutely must play this." And this was like 2 or 3 years ago. And I was like, he's like, "You've never played Mass Effect? Like, you have to. It'd be right up your alley." 9 times out of 10, it would be right up my alley. I would be all over that game if it was 10 years ago. I start playing Mass Effect 1, and I'm like, wow, this is dated. Oh my God. And I'm trying, right? It's like going back and playing Halo 1 without the remaster.
Yeah. Right? That's rough, by the way. I've tried that. I've tried playing
exactly.
Halo 1. It's horrible without playing on the Master Chief Collection. It's
a nostalgia thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So everybody's like, oh, it's so great. It's so great. But when like someone who's never played it goes back and goes, what the heck? Right.
Yeah.
So for me, it was Mass Effect. I started with the trilogy. I started with Mass Effect 1, was going to go to 2, go to 3, so on and so forth. And I did that, and it was dated. Let's go with dated.
Yeah, that's understandable, man. It's rough even for us going back and playing it, even with the nostalgia. The combat system is atrocious. The Mako is annoying, but the story is what drags you in. It's a shame you couldn't get past it, but I do understand. Hopefully, though, if the remaster is true and it's coming out, you've got to play that.
Well, that's the quality of remasters lately, right? Is the remasters have been so good.
Mm-hmm.
There's difference between a remake and a remaster. Like, I will always go to RE2 for this. Like, a remake of that caliber is like, it was my game of the year last year. Like, I still play it. Yeah. And I don't usually replay games very often. I'm not a completionist by any means. Like, I play it for the story, right? So when I go back to RE2 and redo it for the 4th time now, I think, or something along those lines, that's great.
It's so replayable, that game. Because it's short as well, so it's not like, what does it take, like 8 to 10 hours to complete it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a replayable game with the different things you can do and stuff. So I agree with Resident Evil 2 Remake. It was probably one of the best examples of a remake you can get.
Yeah.
So
and then you get a remaster is a bit different, right?
No, I wouldn't be expecting. I think we should be cautious about this remaster, because do not be expecting a remake like Resident Evil 2. It's just not going to happen. But having said that, I don't think there's any excuse why they couldn't have at least done something with the combat system in 1. I don't know if you agree, Luke. There's no excuse to me how that can be. They must have
tinker it.
Done something, like, even if it's still a little bit clunky, just tinker it a little bit so it's a bit more playable.
Yeah.
Just because that overheating as well. They have to take the overheating.
I hate the overheating, man.
Do you know what? I don't know if you can. I can still hear that horrible noise of the overheating. You have to wait. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah, I'm with you.
They have to take that out, surely, at least.
I mean, you'd think so. You'd think they'd be able to tinker it a little bit, just to make it more enjoyable, just a little bit smoother. I mean, the night and day difference from Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2. And the combat system.
That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah, man. I remember because I was kind of like you, but I wasn't as far gone, but I hadn't played it, had I, Sud? It's coming into like 2014, 15.
Yeah.
And you told me,
you really struggled, didn't you, with 1?
Yeah, I really struggled. I only got through it because I got hooked into the story. I hated the combat so much. And I kept moaning to Sud, and Sud was like, lad, trust me, get to the second one, and it'll be just, you'll enjoy it so much more because the combat is a lot better. And instantly, as soon as you load up the second game and you no, I was going to say no spoilers, but woken up from obviously you've been repaired.
It's over 10 years old.
Yeah, it's been 10 years old. You've been repaired, and then you start shooting in that combat system, man. Oh my god,
it's so good.
It's so good.
And I've got to say that the third one it improves every one. The third one's even better, and then Andromeda has the best combat system, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree.
That's what I was going to ask. What did you guys think of Andromeda then? Because I know that's a big one. Is that a lot of people?
We're in the minority.
We are in the minority. We actually liked it.
Yeah.
Now,
all right, guys, have a great day. Bye.
Now, I think it's fair to say we didn't love it, did we? We liked it. I think that's a distinction to make. We love the Mass Effect trilogy. We liked Andromeda. It definitely wasn't as good. There was definitely something missing. Obviously, we all saw them plasticine faces when the game first came out, all them screenshots, and it was bad. I mean,
mate, the dialogue, "My face is tired," is what one of the characters says. What?
Not good. Yeah, it's just not good enough, really.
My face is tired. I've been there, but I mean,
yeah, been there, but weird dialogue.
And let's be honest, the game didn't look good compared to other games at that time. I mean, that game came out the same time as Horizon Zero Dawn, the night and day difference. There, I mean, just not even a comparison.
We've touched on it a lot. It's disappointed because it's got the Mass Effect obviously tagged to it. But if it was just a normal game, and as we've joked before, Suds Andromeda, it would probably be better received. And it is a decent game. If you go back to it, I think you can find a lot, even if you didn't like it. If you go back to it and try it, you can find aspects of the game you're like, actually, yeah, I do like this part. I like this part.
There were some cool ideas in the game. I actually thought the story was interesting. I mean, we always said
a little bit Mass Effect 1-y.
No, but we always said like the end of the game was pretty cool. Or they left on a cliffhanger and stuff, and like it's a shame that we didn't. I felt like it was one of them slow burn games where it was very slow at first. I've got to be honest, I don't know about you. I didn't really enjoy the first 5 hours. I thought it was too slow.
It was pretty slow.
So what if they made a remake of that though? Or not a remake, sorry, but like a remaster of that, and they kind of just fix things. Would that make it like a great game then, or would it keep it?
No, I don't think it'd ever be a great game.
The Mass Effect tags too much on it.
Yeah. But it is a shame. I thought it had good ideas, but obviously we may as well forget about it now, because if they ever do a new Mass Effect game, which we're all hoping they do at some point, it's going to be completely different from that game in the universe.
This trilogy remaster should be the opening of the door to a new game. Rekindle the love for the franchise. Get a new game out there. That's what the fans want.
Are you guys thinking like? What I mean when I was asking earlier is, so with all the remakes and remasters coming out now, do you guys long for new IPs like I do?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, 100%. I get it. I love, like I said, Dark Souls, and one of my favorite games of all time. And this is gonna be weird because you guys probably never even played it. It was Darksiders. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. I love that game. War is just such a badass.
It's like it's like a mature Zelda.
Yes, it was like God of War and Zelda together kind of thing, right? And they came out with the War Mastered edition, and it just kept going, right? And they had games in the series and stuff, but they just kept going downhill. And then all of a sudden, they release another, like, oh, this is the Legendary edition now, and so on and so forth. It's like, guys, come on. And don't get me wrong, like Genesis was great. Like I'm playing through that, and it's so much fun. But
I really didn't like that game,
Oh, really?
I don't know why. I just couldn't. There was something about the game. Like I see. The thing is with that game is, I kept comparing it to Diablo when I was playing. I was like, I'm playing Diablo. Like, I don't know. I get you. I'm not saying it was a bad game. I could tell it wasn't a bad game, if that makes sense. Like, I know it's probably a good game. I just really couldn't. I just couldn't get into it. I don't know why.
No, for sure. Yeah. For me, I'm invested in the characters, right? So having War and Strife play off each other is like, it's like Deadpool and Cable, right? And that's what they've been kind of linked to. But my thing is like, it's this edition and this edition. Skyrim. Oh my god.
Yeah. Too many.
Like how many versions of Skyrim do you guys own?
I
only
own the
2.
One. Yeah.
I think I've got 3 or 4.
I got the original. I got the VR version.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, you went. Yeah.
It's not nice if you play it, Matt.
No.
Trust me.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's horrible. It is horrible. Yeah.
It's probably more to do with the VR more than the game itself, though, isn't it? Obviously?
Yeah, it's the VR. Yeah.
If you had a proper VR that worked properly and didn't make you motion sickness, I'm sure it'd be great.
Yeah, but no one wants. Who wants to play like 60 plus hours in VR?
No one wants to play like that.
Honestly, it's not a
people with their lives.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, guess so.
But yeah, so I've got 4. I think I've got Xbox PS3. Then I've got my Xbox One, my PC, and then I think I've got it on the Switch.
Mhm.
I think, but so on and so forth, right? Like, and I'm a sucker and I keep buying it for, I don't know why. It's on the Steam sale, it's $3 or whatever, and I end up getting it.
Quick question: how does it play on Switch?
Not great.
No, I didn't think it would.
No.
Switch can't really handle open world games like that very well.
But like I would, instead of re-releasing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and I'm not saying that the Mass Effect remaster wouldn't be a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, BioWare, like, maybe take the time and look at something else, right? Like, try.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I don't know. I'm quite a big fan of remakes sometimes because, especially if it's games I've loved in the past, I think it's a nostalgia thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's a game where I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to. They've remastered some pointless games, haven't they? This generation. There's been some remasters. One was like Red Faction Guerrilla. They remastered, and I'm like, why are you remastering that? It wasn't a great game in 2010. It was an average game that you remastered. It
was in the dollar bin by 2012.
Yeah, it's just come on. Like remasters like that, I don't like because I just think it's pointless. However, remasters like Resident Evil 2 and even 3, which I actually didn't mind, Resident Evil 3 remake. I think it's great. On that. Well, look, I mean, I've got to be honest. It might be because I'm not too familiar with Resident Evil 3 original.
I never played it, and I was I
didn't mind 3. So
okay, so you guys got me going on a tangent.
No, it's fine.
RE3 remake, right? I did a blind playthrough. I had never played 3. Like I've seen like speedrunners like Bakba Soup and stuff like that run 3 and and all that, and I was like, okay, 3 is not too bad, right? I understood the premise of it and stuff, and I got into it, and I was expecting an RE2 remake again, but RE3. So I was super pumped on this. And then once I realized that Nemesis was completely mapped out everywhere, when he would jump at you and all this kind of stuff, it's to the point where speedrunners like have marks on the ground where they sidestep, and that'll dodge Nemesis's attack, right? Where you had Mr. X, where like he's just thumping above you, and you're like, oh my god, he's coming for me, right? And then 4.5 hours it took me to beat that game. I beat it in an afternoon.
Yeah, it's very quick. I mean, I think it's only a little bit longer than that, but it's definitely a quick game. I mean, however, I don't know. I just appreciate it for what it was. I think my expectations weren't that high going in because I'd already heard all the negative stuff about it, so I was like, I'll go into it with low expectations, and I enjoyed the game. Look, don't get me wrong, it is nowhere near as good as Resident Evil 2's remake. No. Let me just distinguish that. However, I still think it's a good game. I just don't think it's a great game.
The big thing for me was, it wasn't even the fact that it took me 4.5 hours. Sure, you know what? It takes me 4.5 hours. Say it took me, 4.5 hours to do Leon's campaign. Well, now I get to do Claire's campaign, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Where 3, it was, you're done. I'm like, okay, so where's the hidden missions and stuff like that? And it's like, oh no, you can go grind, and I hate grinding.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Grind out the infinite rocket launcher and stuff, right?
You're not a fan of JRPGs then, Matt? Okay,
so depends on the JRPG.
You don't like
Chrono
grinding?
Trigger, oh yeah, some days FF10, like that kind of stuff I can do. Like any of the Final Fantasies, yeah, but yeah, grinding for me is like, if I'm sitting here doing the same thing over and over and over again, I will go insane.
Yeah, it's very tedious. I'm with you there. Yeah. I think I never played the Resident Evil franchise really, so I have no thoughts on that. Really, I've no opinions. I've only heard how good the second remake was and stuff. But when it comes to the new IPs, I think you touched on something before where you used the word balance, Matt. That's what I like, bit of balance. Yeah, there's some games, the nostalgia, I want the remaster or a remake, yeah? Take me back into that world, perfect. But I am longing for some new IPs. Something different. I seem to play the same game. I either play the same games over and over, or I seem to play the same sort of games over and over. And it's just like, I need something new, man. I need a new story. I'm a story guy. I like single player games. I want more of them.
Well, I think as well, actually, you touched on a point, Matt, about the indies. I mean, the indie space, a lot of the time, is where you get the innovation now. I mean,
it's true, yeah.
That's why I'm looking forward to the Game Pass on the S, because I feel like, again, we had this anyway, didn't we? We both discovered games on Game Pass we would have never probably played if it wasn't for Game Pass. So I'm hoping for that again this time around. Games where you go, I fancy playing that, and it's great.
So games like Stanley Parable, Thomas Was Alone, Hue, games like that, like I would have never really got into until I started playing them. One of my friends is a huge indie guy, right? And he's like, you got to try this. And it's like same with Celeste and some other games like that. And like Thomas was alone. I never thought I would care and or feel for a square.
Yeah, I've played that game.
Yeah. Like I was like, wow, like I'm interested in what happens to these little squares. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like this kind of thing that this guy just did, like Undertale, right? I mean, that's the one that really kind of kickstarted the indie scene, right? So
that's such a unique. I mean, it isn't unique because it's going off, and I think it's going off a lot of the early games in the 90s. There was a lot of games like Undertale. It's not an original thing. I can never remember the game that it's really like. There's a game in the early 90s, was on the NES or SNES. Earthbound, that's the one, yes. I mean, it's basically an Earthbound clone, or in a way, but with a bit more humor and stuff like that. But
that's the word I was about to bring up, was clone. That's the thing nowadays, is like with IPs and new IPs and stuff, we're not getting new IPs, we're getting clones. We're getting Dark Souls clones, we're getting Mario clones, we're getting so on and so forth, right? Like,
true.
Yeah, the one game, I mean, there's a few games, but the one game, I don't know, you probably agree with this as well, Luke, that I always look back with Game Pass where I was like, I don't know, I probably never would have even looked like it, is What Remains of Edith Finch.
I was just going to say, Edith Finch.
Oh, it's so good.
Some people don't like it, but I love it.
I remember playing that game, right, Edith Finch, and my girlfriend, unfortunately sometimes has to watch me play because I want to play a game for a bit late at night, and she was like, what is this game? It looks so boring. And I was just playing it. I was like, trust me, the story's great. She didn't go to sleep. She's there like, I wonder what's going on here. She got hooked into the story. I was like, I told you.
Scene.
I mean, it's a tragic story, but it's great.
The tub scene.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I cried. I mean,
it was so well done, though. They did it so well.
They did. And that's just a walking simulator, right? Like, that's all it is.
One of my favorite ones is the it was quite late on in the game with the junkie.
Yeah, he's working in a factory.
You kind of play like, and he's like
thinks he's the king.
So it's so creepy.
Yeah,
but it's like cool at the same time. Yeah, so cool. That was a cool story. But
that's the thing, right? Is indie games can really have those. Like I'm finding that indie games are where the new IPs are coming out. Right, you don't see AAA titles because it doesn't make money. Right?
Yeah,
they want to sell the brand that they already have.
Another one I'll give a shout out to in the walking simulator genre is Everyone's Gone to the Rapture. Another great game.
I haven't checked that one out. I'm gonna check it out.
It's really good. It's on PS4. It's if you like What Remains of Edith Finch, it's very similar in tone.
Did you guys check out Firewatch?
Yeah, I've tried it, but I couldn't get into Firewatch,
Once you get into it, it gets good. It gets really good.
I think I played it for about an hour and I was like, maybe at the time I just wasn't in the right mood for that sort of game, and I just kind of switched it off. But I probably should go back to it.
That can affect you, though, right? Like not being in the right mindset to play something.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
100%. Something like that, right? You sit down and like, this game's stupid. And you're like, well, no, it's actually great. I'm not in the right spot to play it.
Yeah. Same with movies, though. I always find like you have to be in the mindset for the genre.
Do you know what's funny? And you'd probably maybe. I actually remember thinking that with Horizon Zero Dawn. I don't know what it was. I was playing it for about 10 hours. I was really enjoying it, but then I went back to it, and I think from about 10 to 15 hours, I was like, I don't know. There's something about the game I'm not feeling at the minute, but I pushed through, and then I loved the rest of the game. So it can happen even with great games that you love, can't it?
For sure. Like I did it with Far Cry. I was like, I'm not feeling this right now, and I was like. But one game I was like, I don't know why, but I was super in the mood for and I needed at the time was Dead Island, and that game's garbage.
Well, I will say, do you know what it is about Dead Island, right? You know when you're on the beach, the first sort of part? I love that part of the game.
Yep, me too.
I love it. It's great. But if the whole game was like that, it'd be one of the best games of the generation. But
100%.
Once you got past the first part of the game, it was terrible. When you went in the sewers in that city, it was awful. It just changed
I completely agree with you. And then
the atmosphere of that hotel and the beach is fantastic. I love it. Yeah,
and then the durability system they had. Once you got the hang of it, it took you 30 seconds to do. Right?
Yeah, I found that a little bit annoying, but I just think the actual premise of the game in that hotel was cool, but it just that game got like so.
Is that the one everyone got hyped for because of the
trailer?
Cinematic
trailer. Yeah. That trailer was, I still watch it.
So good.
I still watch it.
It's a great trailer.
Yeah, that is a good trailer.
But it was great. I mean, just you going on about Far Cry, Matt, which Far Cry is your favourite one out of the ones you played?
I actually only have played like one or two of them. So I played Far Cry 3 and Blood Dragon.
Okay.
And
I definitely recommend 5.
Yeah, I was gonna do
5's
4
really good.
because I think 4's one with Peg and Min, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not bad.
so
It's a decent
I was
one.
doing that one, and then it just kind of trailed off for me.
Mm.
And like I said, I wasn't in the mindset to play it, so I was like, this is dumb. I'm not gonna play this anymore.
I'd definitely say 5, although avoid the DLC. The DLC is dreadful for Far Cry.
That's
5.
what I heard, because it's
Awful.
like it's post-apocalyptic or something.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you warned me off
no,
this
well,
because we love 5,
Yeah,
didn't we?
well, actually, yeah. I mean, New Dawn is just
Yeah, good game.
it's just not good. I mean,
It's Blood Dragon all the way, guys. Come
Oh,
on.
sorry, New Dawn's a DLC.
yeah. I guess say DLC. It's not really DLC. It's a standalone game, but it is DLC.
It's supposed to be, right?
Yeah. So it was awful. I don't know what it was, and the thing is, it played exactly the same as 5, so it shouldn't have been awful. But
Well,
I
it's not
just
always over
couldn't get
gameplay,
into
right?
it. It was no exactly, and I don't think Far Cry 5 needed a sequel. It should have just been left how it was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I liked 5
So,
as it was.
it's really
I
good
didn't
game.
need the DLC, even the ending. We talked about the ending quite a bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like, together and
I
stuff.
like the ending. Or
Yeah.
the multiple
It makes
endings.
sense, and I mean, like that's great, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that in Far Cry games, if you like at the very beginning of the game, you have a choice to pretty much end the game.
Yeah,
right
you can do that thing where you just sit
there.
there for like
Yeah.
20 minutes and it just ends.
Peg and Min comes back and he's like, "Hey man, what's up? Okay, let's go."
Doesn't every
Yeah.
did that start with 4 or did it start with 3? I think it was
I think it's 4. I think.
4, and then like they carried it on with 5, didn't they?
Yeah. So Peg
Which
and
is
Min
cool.
just comes back and sits down. It's like, well, that's taken care of. Let's go, and then
Yeah.
that's it.
Thanks for
And
being patient.
is it with 5 where you can just stand in the church and not do anything for 5
Yeah.
minutes?
Yeah,
and
you
then
leave or
ends?
something like that, and he
Yeah, just like-
he doesn't arrest them, and that's it.
No,
That's the game.
That's it. It's just
I mean,
kind of weird.
you kind of alter the ending though, which is like I think better for everybody. So
Probably is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think that's a good place to leave the podcast, boys. Good discussion there, definitely. So, yeah, let us know in the comments below your thoughts on the topics we covered today. And also, if you are watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and pass on the channels that help the channel to grow. If you are listening to us on any audio platform as well, leave us a nice review, please, and pass on the pod again. And thanks for joining us, Matt. We really appreciate that.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's been
No
good
worries.
chat, man. Where can people find you then?
They can find me at twitch.tv/Lord Thoreck and on Twitter at Thoreck88.
Perfect. And I'll link
Very nice.
everything in the description below, and definitely go check out his channel. Great content on there.
Great stuff.
And you can follow me and Sud on social media. Where can people find you, Sud?
Yeah, so it's just on Twitter for me at David10Spud.
And I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Loud, LEL3Ds, add a 9 the end for Instagram. And you can follow the Checkpoint Reach podcast on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at ChetReachPod. But thanks again, Matt, for joining us. Really appreciate that. It was a good chat. And we'll be back next week to discuss some more gaming news. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.